Welcome to the 22nd edition of my Pug Fireball and Company podcast, where I focus on America's pastime, both past and present. Are you ready to be entertained, informed, and intrigued by stories of memorable players, epic games, and baseball personalities? I'm your host, Steve, and today we're talking to Randy Wehofer, the new general manager of the Iowa Cubs, the AAA affiliate of the Chicago Cubs. Randy previously served as Iowa's assistant general manager from 2018 to 2025 and director of broadcasting and media relations from 2008 to 2017, which means he did a lot of traveling. Randy also spent 9 seasons as the play-by-play broadcaster for the Burlington Bees in the Midwest League and was the team's assistant general manager of baseball operations from 2004 to 2007. And he played a radio broadcaster in the film Sugar in 2008. So I invite you to look up that film on Netflix or whatever, and you can see Randy as starring in a movie. Thanks, Randy, for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
So what added responsibilities do you have now as general manager that you didn't have before?
I guess the final say on things. Sam gave me a lot of responsibility and opportunity to lead the staff, in terms of hiring and lots of things, but it was certainly ultimately his decision on things that we did. And so I remain active in all the different areas of the operation. But now when people ask if we can buy new stuff or what things we need to do, it comes to me. Sam's still here as the president of the team. And so the dynamic hasn't changed tremendously, but the added opportunity and responsibility to consultation to make my decision as opposed to him getting my consultation to make his decision is probably the biggest change.
Is that kind of a daunting task to have the ultimate responsibility?
Yes, but I've been doing this for a really long time. And when I became assistant general manager, Michael and Sam talked to me about not only becoming the assistant general manager, but being on this path. So I've been working for a long time to be ready to take on this responsibility, and I really like and appreciate all the people on our staff. I've got a great team working with me and around me. And so some days it's daunting when things break and the unexpected stuff happens around a 35-year-old stadium, but the opportunities to make decisions about where we want to go promotionally and what we want to do to take the organization into the next generation of fan in Central Iowa, that's exciting. And it's probably the reason I'm in this role now, because I've been working towards being prepared for that.
What is a typical day like during the off season? It must be a lot different than during the actual season.
Sure. I think the biggest thing that's changed for me is I'm not handling as many sponsorship accounts day to day as I had been as the assistant general manager. So I've made connections with the rest of the sales staff. I'm still handling just a handful of key accounts that have been with us for a long time and with me for a long time, which is typical as part of the general manager role. So it's a lot more meetings and Zoom calls, more responsible to the finance people at Diamond Baseball Holdings to review and discuss how we're tracking on our budget and doing all of those kinds of things. And, I've tried, especially here in the short term, of taking over in September into this role of just making sure I'm having regular intentional check-ins with all the different departments and all the different people to make sure everybody's talking to one another, and trying to be a little less task-oriented myself and really focus on cultivating, making everybody else as good as they can be.
What will fans notice when they come to Principal Park this season that's different from last year?
Well, we've got actually a lot of things going on. Not all of them just because Sam and I made a title change. These were things that we were working on, but we're in the middle of having a brand new sound system installed. The previous sound system, I believe, was original and was time for an update. So I think people will notice immediately the quality of the sound, and we'll have a lot more control over the different zones of the ballpark to control individually. So if the mezzanine is loud enough but G.A. isn't, we can control those independently where we couldn't do that before. So that was something that we had been working toward, and that will be complete. Something we weren't planning on that's going to happen is a rebuilt video board. There was a power interruption in November that fried the circuitry on about a fourth of the board. And so our best solution is to rebuild it in its current case, and that work will begin in March and be complete for opening day. So the physical board will look the same dimensions, the same, we're building it within those same cabinets, but we'll have some higher pixel density and some upgraded equipment, and I think people should notice an upgraded experience there. So between the sound system and the video board, those are really two key things that we can affect from a fan experience standpoint. And then we're making some changes in the concourse. We are building what we're calling the neighborhood bar in the concourse behind home plate. It'll be a bar build out with some high top tables for service. So the bottom of the fifth won't need to exist any longer. So I've actually expanded the staff. So we needed the sensory friendly space of the conference room overlap for full-time staff members. So the bottom of the fifth is being reconfigured to be a new sensory friendly space that will be adjacent to first aid and a calming room that will be more suitable than the solution we had before, which was good, but this will be better. And working with our friends at ChildServe that have helped us create the sensory friendly day that we've done the last 2 years to outfit that. And then first aid will help keep control of the area. The door will be locked all the time so that it can't be abused unintentionally or something along those lines, and our first aid staff will help with access and using some of that other space within the bottom of the fifth for merchandise storage. And then we're revamping kind of the concessions offerings behind home plate. We'll have a stand called the Dog House, which will be Chicago dogs and hot dogs, but also a featured hot dog for every home stand that our partners at OVG will be working on. So we'll have some different creative options and some other offerings and some chicken tenders and things. Stu's Barbecue will move down completely toward third base. So everything behind home plate will be somewhat reconfigured. Little Chicago and gluten-free will remain similar in their spots. And then we're going to add a pizza to the homestand and do some things creatively with the food and beverage offerings there. And then I hope people will notice just a more intentional way that we want to engage fans from the time you arrive to the time you leave. And certainly the sound system and the video board will help us do some of those things, and emphasis on some more live music pregame as you walk up and creating different kinds of atmosphere and those kinds of things. The last few years we've spent a lot of time upgrading the baseball facility per the MLB requirements, and we've done a terrific job with that. The last piece of that I should mention here is our bullpen renovation. The bullpens have moved into the seats. We've taken out 734 seats, and that work is construction-wise is essentially complete. We just need to put railings back, and then the grounds crew, with weather permitting, here will begin on building the mounds and putting the baseball touches on that. So that will be a big physical change as well. So that's a lot of things that we've checked off. A lot of the things we've done in the past have been behind the scenes. So this will be a lot that'll be fan-facing that people will be able to see and experience this year.
I think you alluded to this, but who decided to move the bullpens from the field into the stands?
We made the decision. It was not technically required for us to move the bullpens off the field, but knowing that that would be the desired position from a player safety perspective. And so from a compliance standpoint, it wasn't that the bullpens on the field caused us to be non-compliant, but the amount of warning track that's required to be around the bullpens if they remain on the field wasn't going to be a good look. We'd have to extend a lot of warning track into fair territory, which is probably more dangerous than having the mounds in foul territory from an actual gameplay standpoint. And we knew the Cubs would appreciate it, and once we did the player parking out beyond the center field wall with the batter's eye, there really wasn't anywhere else to go. And so now felt like the right time to be the finishing touch to all the baseball things that we did. Go ahead and make that adjustment, and we're going to benefit from it too promotionally. I don't have to have my head on a swivel while people are waiting to throw out first pitches in case a slider gets loose from a guy warming up and all the different things that went with it. So I think everyone will benefit from having made this change.
Do any ballparks in AAA have the bullpens on the field anymore?
I think Columbus does, but they have a lot more foul territory than we do. So it's much further away from fair territory. It's been probably 10 years at least, maybe more, where new ballparks were required to have the bullpens off the field. But if you were built before that rule change, you weren't required to make that. But we're now the oldest stadium in AAA based on the reshuffling and reaffiliation things that went on coming out of COVID in 2021 and the other new facilities that have been built around the country. So it's never good in our industry to be the exception to the rule for things. So it was the right time. But it was no one forced us to do it. But rather than wait 3 years and be forced to do it, as you get into the next time, it made sense to fit that in with the things that we had done.
What teams will fans see at Principal Park for the first time this season?
Scranton Wilkes-Barre, the Yankees AAA affiliate, comes to town. I'm not sure if in the International League days, if the Yankees affiliate, but similar to Worcester last year, Scranton is brand new, and they're not a new team, but we're happy to have Memphis back on the schedule also. The Cub-Cardinal rivalry is fun, and it's meaningful. We have good data that we sell more tickets when Memphis is in town. Cardinal fans come out to see the AAA team of their favorite team, and it creates some urgency for those games. So those are the two key series. Yeah, I don't think Buffalo came back last year, but they're on the schedule again. They've been here before within the last couple of years, but with the Blue Jays having gone to the World Series, that's a little bit different look than what we've seen the last couple of years. So we don't have the schedule's not quite as exotic as it was in 2025, but it's a good schedule really for baseball and for attendance and all the things that we look at.
Any chance you could get Aaron Judge to show up with Scranton when they come here?
I wouldn't hold my breath on that. I'm not rooting for him to be hurt, and I don't think he's probably going to get sent down.
Marty Peavy is back for a franchise record 14th season as manager, which is highly unusual for the minor leagues. Well, highly unusual for baseball in general, for any manager to last that long. What makes him an ideal AAA manager? Why has he lasted so long?
Yeah, it's hard to put your finger on just one thing. It's certainly Marty is a great worker, and so the Cubs can trust him to do the work that they need to do out on the field in the development of players. And even as strategy has become less a part of managing a pitching staff or substitutions because of the player development plans, he has proven valuable to the Cubs in being able to help Matt Shaw make the move from shortstop to third base, or to, they trust him to protect the workload of a Cade Horton to be ready when Chicago gets called up. And I guess trust is the best way I boil it down to a single concept, that he has the baseball acumen to develop the skills of these players and the trust of the organization to follow the plans that they have in place, and to be able to communicate that with the players in a way that has allowed them to leave here and go to Chicago and contribute. I think we saw the cycle in 2014 and 15 leading into the World Series experience of 2000. While that is a lofty goal to achieve again, we're kind of on a similar cycle with the way they've moved this crop of players through the minor leagues to be the core of the team at the major league level, that barring major injury, the Chicago Cubs should again be a shoo-in to be a National League Central contender and a playoff participant. And once you're in, if you play your best, they'd be capable. They won the season series with the Dodgers last year, so it's not like it's impossible, despite the cavalcade of players that the Dodgers have put together. The Cubs are a talented, capable team, and so I think all of that comes together, that piece that's not broken, so they're not going to fix it.
And he must like Des Moines too.
Yeah, I think we are with the Chicago Cubs since 1981, not by accident. We go out of our way to take care of the facility with them in mind. We strategize travel arrangements and things for the team that aren't just the lowest cost, but are the best opportunity for players to get from one place to another efficiently, to have some time off at least off their feet from time to time. And certainly the fan support and the weather and the conditions make Des Moines a very good reflection of Wrigley from a AAA team to a major league team. And so, yeah, there's a lot of reasons why we are proud of our consistency as an organization.
Now let's take a break and look at a fun fact from my latest book about the history of professional baseball in Des Moines. And it focuses on Marty Peavy, who we just talked about. He picked up his 1,000th win as a manager in a franchise record, 356th win as the I-Cubs skipper when the I-Cubs beat Nashville 6-3 in 11 innings on April 12th, 2018. Do you remember that day, Andy?
Somewhat. I don't remember a lot of the specifics of it, but I do remember that would have been my first year as assistant general manager, so I wasn't on the call for that one. But I do remember helping contribute to the research of where Marty stood in the lexicon of not only Iowa Cubs managers, but Buddy Bailey and he were both longtime Cubs managers and amongst the winningest minor league teams. Buddy passed away this past fall, unfortunately. But yeah, the Cubs have a track record of sticking with their minor league managers and allowing them to accumulate these kinds of numbers. Marty will point out he's also got the most losses by far in franchise history as he's been here for so long.
That kind of comes with the territory, I guess.
Yeah, that's part of longevity.
Okay, let's get back to our discussion with Randy. How are the I-Cubs celebrating the 10th year anniversary of the Chicago Cubs World Series Championship in 2016 on June 27th?
Yeah, so we're having a replica World Series trophy giveaway for the first 1,000 fans, and those will be really cool. The actual trophy will be here for people to see and take pictures with. Clark the Cub is also going to be on hand entertaining the crowd that day, and we are working on finalizing to get at least one player, if not a couple, and coordinating schedules, so we're not in a place to announce who that may be just yet, but we're working on trying to add that wrinkle too. Even without the players, it'll be fun to be able to see the trophy and get the replica, and Clark is always great when we have him here, and we hope to provide some interaction with some of the players from that team also.
How big is that trophy going to be? The size of the real trophy?
Yeah, it's a little smaller than a bobblehead. It's something that you can put on your desk or your shelf and be reminded of those good feelings regularly, but not something that you need to get to the gym to start working out to be able to carry home between now and then.
Well, I remember when they did bring the trophy to Principal Park after they won it, I stood in line a long time, and I was afraid we weren't going to get in because I think they only allowed a certain number in, but the line was so long they said, "You've been out in the cold long enough, come on in." So, yeah, I got a picture with it. That was one of the highlights, certainly, of my Cub career.
Yeah, I think it was about this time. I believe it was February. And, yeah, we set up stanchions in line because we set it up in the lounge restaurant area in left field was where the trophy sat. But we created the line outside and through the locker rooms and the hallways. And we let people get a tour of the stadium while they were waiting to see the trophy. That was a fun day.
What will fans be able to do on Backyard Baseball Night on July 3rd?
So we'll have jerseys that the players will wear, and we'll do an auction like we've done with some of the other theme nights, but we'll also have some stations for people to play. It's based on the old video game, Backyard Baseball, that was really popular a little bit after my time. But if you're in that 30 to 40-year-old age bracket and played video games and was a sports fan, this was the thing in that for a while. And their characters and it's kind of about the time that the movie The Sandlot was out and a little bit based on that concept. So it's based on that old video game and that brand where we have the licensing to use those marks with Wilson on a game jersey and have some places where people can play the video game. And they've got the Backyard Baseball folks have some other things that I know the marketing team is working on. I've overheard a couple of conversations, but I think it's going to be fun, especially if you're familiar with the game. And if you're not, it'll be a cool thing to see the way there was a generation of young people that kind of fell in love with baseball differently as the years have gone by, and how this played a part into them becoming a fan of the game. So I think it'll be a lot of fun.
What bobblehead will be given away on July 10th?
It is a Sam Burnaby bobblehead that we're going to do this year, recognizing his 38 years as general manager, and he hasn't fully retired, but he's certainly made a significant change in giving up the general manager title and making that transition with me. And he's still around the ballpark, but he's traveling a lot and doing some consulting work for Diamond Baseball Holdings. So we thought it would be most appropriate and people would really enjoy the opportunity to have the Sam Burnaby collectible because he is a fixture of, we're in the process of transitioning offices. He's the only person that's ever sat in that room until I haven't even started yet. We're still setting up furniture and making some updates after that was his office from when the stadium was built in 91. And so once he took all of his stuff off the wall, the room aged a little bit once we were not distracted by all the cool things that he's collected over the course of his career. So we're making some changes and celebrate Sam. And he's not necessarily leaving, but what's the point of waiting till someone is completely gone to celebrate him? Let him enjoy it and let fans enjoy sharing their memories of coming to the ballpark and seeing him standing outside the gates and all the functions that he's served over the years. We have worked well together. I've learned a lot from him. He's treated me well. My feet better grow to fill the shoes that he leaves behind over my time.
What's he think of the idea? Is he a little bit embarrassed to have a bobblehead?
Yeah, we surprised him with it. We agreed to do that when he wasn't present at one of the meetings, and then he came to one of the next promo calendar meetings, and we had it up on the big screen and scrolled past that date, and he said, when you get done talking about what you're talking about, I have a question about a date in July. He said, in his humble way, says, what if nobody comes? I said, there'll be a long line, and you better have a couple of Sharpies in your pocket that day. There'll be lots of reason that people will think, this is just as cool, if not more, than Owen Casey and Moises Ballesteros bobbleheads that we gave out last year. You have a much wider local fan base than they ever did, despite Baseball America's prospect rankings. You've been on the cover of Baseball America, too.
What will happen on Princess Day on May 20th?
So we'll have some princess characters interacting, but we're also going to host a tea party in the left field lounge. So that'll be a special package, and before the gates open, you can have an exclusive hangout with the characters for your kids that would enjoy something like that. So it's similar to things that bigger enterprises have done with Breakfast with the Character or those kinds of things, but rather than just having them available in the concourse, we wanted to do something that was a little bit more extra special and give an interactive opportunity for those families and kids that have that as the number one thing that they dress up for and like to play when they're at home, and give them a special experience at the ballpark.
When will the iCubs host their annual citizenship ceremony?
That is going to be on Thursday, July 9th. We do not have a July 3rd or 4th game this year, as Major League Baseball has adopted this 6-game series format to the schedule. It's worked the last couple of years to be able to split 3 and 3 or move a date and create a travel day to keep that July 3rd and 4th tradition. But as the holiday moved into the weekend, as the calendar turns over every year, there was no way for Major League Baseball to split the calendar and keep with their travel requirements and player health and safety procedures that have been adopted with the collective bargaining and things. So it was agreed upon that within our travel partner, which is Omaha, they'll have July 3rd and 4th this year, and then next year we'll have both July 3rd and July 4th and have the whole holiday weekend and get back into some of those things. So we do want to continue with the citizenship ceremony tradition, and so we've worked with the court, and they've selected Thursday, July 9th as our day to be able to make that work in their schedule and ours to provide that opportunity again.
How did that ceremony start?
It's been over 15 years now in a relationship between Judge Pratt, who unfortunately just passed, and Michael Gartner. They became acquaintances and then friends through however the circles that those kinds of folks maintain in their lives. I think it had to do with having breakfast and lunch at the old Cub Club restaurant, if memory serves correctly. They got to talking about Judge Pratt's favorite part of his job was the naturalization of citizens as as a federal judge, and certainly thinking about America and baseball and all the ways that those things cross over. I think Judge Pratt credits someone else in another state for doing public ceremonies of that from time to time, and decided that the ballpark would be a perfect place to welcome new citizens and celebrate all things America. And so we tried it, and it was great, and it quickly became a tradition, and something I hope that we can continue as long as I'm part of the organization. I think it's, of all the ideas that minor league baseball steals from one another, I'm surprised more teams haven't taken this one from us, but we'll continue to stake claim to that one, because I think it's really, really terrific.
Where can fans get information on other promotions or just the promotions in general this season?
Yeah, iowacubs.com is always the best place to go for everything. Whether you're looking for tickets, if you're searching for Iowa Cubs tickets and you come across a price that doesn't make sense, you probably found your way to someone who's selling it after they got it from us in some other sort of different way. iowacubs.com is always the most trustworthy way to get the best seats, the best selection, the best price, and all those kinds of things, the most details, any changes, and then certainly our social media accounts, whether it be Facebook or X or Instagram. We're getting a little bit more active on TikTok. I'm not sure how many of your followers are active TikTok users for the, the podcast, but my daughters, my daughters and my wife get a lot of their information from there, and so we need to be active there too. And that's one of the interesting, fun challenges of this job, is all the different ways that people are informed. It's no longer as simple as just putting an ad in the sports section of the Des Moines Register to say what time the game is, who we're playing, and what the promotion is. There's so many different ways that people consume information and where they learn about things from, and it's hard to be everywhere all the time and giving the right messages to right people. But iowacubs.com, if you're seeking us out, is always the best place to go to find out what's happening.
Before we end, I want to note that I'll have 2 upcoming author events. I'll be at the Liad Public Library in Clarinda, which is my birthplace, at 6:30 p.m. Monday, April 20th, and at Plain Talk Books and Coffee in Des Moines at 3 p.m. Saturday, May 16th. And I don't know if Randy's heard about this, but there's also going to be a big baseball event at Hoyt Sherman Place in Des Moines on Wednesday, May 27th. And I'll be among the 9 or 10 or so authors there with our books, and hopefully sell a few. I'm sure there'll be more information about that in the coming weeks. To get my book about the history of professional baseball in Des Moines, go to pugfireballandcompany.com or amazon.com. You can also find it at several bookstores in central Iowa. And if you want to hear more baseball stories with people like Randy, go to my Pug Fireball and Company podcast on YouTube. Spring training has started, and the Iowa Cubs will open the new season at home at 7:08 p.m. Friday, March 20th against the Columbus Clippers, weather permitting, because you don't know what the weather is going to be like in late March in Iowa. Do you have anything else to add, Randy? This has been a joy to be with you.
Last year we opened Friday, March 28th, and it was 72 degrees, and we had a great crowd. And by Sunday, March 31st or 30th, we had to cancel the game because of snow flurries. So if we can get good weather on March 27th, I'll take my chances with the rest of March and April until we roll. We got Memphis coming in that week leading up to Memorial Day. And then we've got 3 full homestands in June. And you touched on some of the really good promotions, and there's a lot more from there. So single game tickets are on sale now. Memberships are on sale, and that's the best way to get first choice at the University of Iowa Series and Cosmic Baseball and some of the other non-Iowa Cup things that we'll be hosting at Principal Park this year. So everything's available now, single game tickets included on sale, and all that's at iowacubs.com. You don't have to wait till it gets warm out to make your plans to come to the ballpark.
Well, this week it's supposed to get up to maybe 58 or 60, so that'll feel more like baseball.
Yeah, I was not happy running my snowblower last week, that's for sure.
Well, this has been fun, and I look forward to many more. And with that, we'll say goodbye to our listeners. Thanks, Randy.
Appreciate it. Thank you.